So I'd like to give you a little background of who I am and where I came from. I was born and raised in the California Bay Area. I grew up with an older and younger brother. We were the typical suburban family. Mom and dad worked during the day, while my brothers and I attended school, played sports where our dad was our coach. Growing up, my dad always told my brothers and I, whatever we do in life, be good at it. He would say whether you want to be a professional athlete, a cook, surgeon, mailman, or even a crook, be good at it. In 1997, I decided to go to junior college in California and eventually transferred to California Polytechnic State University to study architecture. At the time, Cal Poly was the #1 school in architecture. In 2005, I graduated from Cal Poly with a bachelor's in architecture degree. I'm proud to share with you that I am the first and currently the only one in my family to ever graduate from college. In September of 2005, shortly after moving to Arizona, I found a job with an architecture firm. Now that I had this great job, I set my sights on my other goals: purchasing a home, meeting the woman of my dreams, starting a family, the whole white picket fence idea. I felt like there was nothing I couldn't achieve. All the pieces were falling into place. On January 27th of 2006, 6 months after I moved to Arizona, I, along with 2 of my roommates and one of their girlfriends, went across town to see my cousin play in an 80s rock cover band at a famous Sam's Bar and Grill in Glendale, Arizona. The night was getting over, and I wanted to get some fresh air because I was dancing and I was hot. The last thing I truly remember is heading for the front door of the bar and telling a young lady taking money that I was going to get some air, and I asked if I needed to get a stamp to get back inside. She told me not to worry. She would remember me. The next thing you know, I'm laying in a hospital bed with tubes in me. Apparently, somebody standing about 30 feet from the door that I was walking out of started shooting in my direction. I was hit by the first of 7 bullets that were fired. The bullet entered the left side of my face, where it severed my facial nerve, destroyed my inner eardrum, then traveled to the back of my head where it nicked my carotid artery. The bullet is still inside my head. The doctors say it is too close to my brain to try and remove. The shockwave from the bullet damaged my optic nerve and caused me to go blind in my left eye. So now I am blind and deaf on the left side of my face, and the nerve damage caused left me paralyzed on the left side of my face. They had to put 25 coils on my carotid artery to stop the bleeding around my brain. The doctors were shocked at how well I was recovering, so they discharged me to an inpatient program where I received physical, speech, and cognitive therapy, along with occupational therapy. After about 1 week, I was discharged and referred to an outpatient program, which lasted an additional week. I don't recall ever being told I had a brain injury while at either rehab center. All I remember hearing from both places is that I was doing great. My managing partner at Swaback Partners architectural firm told me to take as long as I needed to recover before I came back to work. I took about 2 months or so off after finishing rehab before returning to the office. I could have taken more time off before returning to work, but I was tired of watching The Price is Right, Days of Our Lives, and Dr. Phil. I was so glad to return to work. Things were finally going to get back to normal. But it wasn't until well after my return to my normal life that I began to notice those around me were acting differently towards me. I noticed that I would get frustrated a lot easier. My fuse was a lot shorter. I fixated on the things that really irritated me, which caused an emotional avalanche and made me shut down. About 2 years after returning to work, I was laid off. It was during the financial crisis, so as much as I didn't like it, I understood it. After about 3.5 years or so, Swaback rehired me. Everything was right in the world again, at least for about the first year. It was at this point that I was called into a meeting with my managing partner and my project manager. They shared with me that they were concerned about my performance and that something was just off. They couldn't put their finger on it and encouraged me to get some help since they knew I had been shot in the head. I was aware that my behavior and demeanor had changed, but had no idea how to get back to my old self. I noticed that I would get distracted more easily, and that my attention span was now shorter. I didn't like planning or doing long tasks. They would get my anxiety levels up. I did well with shorter tasks. That way I wouldn't distract myself. What is strange about this is I felt like I needed distractions. I didn't mind that everyone around me at work would come to me with questions during the workday. It was a way to give my brain a break from the task at hand. Also, I would forget where I left off at my primary task. If I was given instructions and I was interrupted, I would forget what I was instructed to do. One of the doctors I met with a couple times a year after my injury was Dr. Kwasnika, who is a physical medicine and neurorehabilitation doctor. For the longest time when we met, things kept moving, or you could say life was at a normal pace, everything considered. So when my employer encouraged me to get some help, I reached out to Dr. Kwasnika, who referred me to SWAN, a neurorehabilitation program. This sounded great. Anything to make me better. After the neuropsychologist reviewed my CT scans, she informed me that she could see that the bullet struck my brain, contacting my frontal lobe and my temporal lobe, causing a significant brain injury. This is the first time I recall being told that the bullet hit my brain. It was 7 years from the date of being shot that I learned a lot about my new self. I learned what my limitations are and what's causing those limitations. I learned to work with and around those limitations with different types of aids and skills. I was, and still am today, very grateful for this opportunity to help get myself as close as I can to being back to my life before being shot in the head. I was referred to the Brain Injury Alliance of Arizona and met several members of their staff to sit down and discuss my injury and the resources that are available to better my life with a traumatic brain injury. I felt that it was beneficial that I keep a relationship with the Brain Injury Alliance of Arizona, given all the resources and support they offered. Presently, I'm leading a full life, everything considered. I have done a considerable amount of public speaking about my experience. Specifically, I have been to all the state and federal prisons in Arizona to speak to the inmates. I would speak to them about my shooting and how my life has been altered. While speaking to the inmates, I would share my dad's mantra that I mentioned earlier about whatever we do in life, be good at it. Without fail. I would get some funny looks when I'd mention my dad's line, if you're gonna be a crook, be good at it. I would follow this by saying to the inmates, well, you must not have been very good at it. They would start to chuckle. It was a nice icebreaker. I have given speeches at the state Senate to get some new laws passed on behalf of victims of crime. I have spoken in front of the Attorney General and at the Arizona State Bar Conference as well. I also keep a rather active life. I took up golf and bowling, and I've gotten pretty good at them. Only 3 seasons into bowling, I have bowled 2 perfect 300 games and 3 11-strike-in-a-row games. I also exercise every day and run on the weekends. I only mention running as a triumph because for the first few years of my recovery, my equilibrium and balance had some major challenges. I would get dizzy getting out of bed, and when I would try to run, I'd fall over. I was given a procedure that stabilized my equilibrium, so I didn't get dizzy getting out of bed anymore, and I was able to start running without falling over. I'm currently working with the Brain Injury Alliance of Arizona to get a support group started as well. As much as I enjoy helping others, I realize I still need help myself. With the support group, I can reach out and support others with TBI, and maybe more selfishly, I'm looking to meet others that have gone through the same trauma or similar trauma that I have, to see if my approach to this new life is way off in left field, or if I'm following the yellow brick road that everyone else is in my situation. Being part of such a small percentage, there's not too many other people that you can relate to. Living with a brain injury does have its challenges. I don't always know how you're supposed to be supported or react. I think that being involved in a brain injury support group helps us realize we are not alone. It's a place where we can help each other better manage the daily challenges of living with a brain injury. Another endeavor I'm proud to mention, and it was mentioned earlier, to keep me active, is I've been asked to be the co-chair for the Brain Injury Alliance of Arizona's Run, Walk, and Roll-a-thon that took place last month. I felt proud to be a voice for those who are not ready or not sure they can speak up for themselves. As I move forward with my journey of this new life, I hope to give something that everyone around me can benefit from. I like to tell people the saying shouldn't be, smile, it gets better. The saying should be, smile, it can get worse. Meaning, enjoy what you have. I do want to mention that it also does not matter whether or not you receive rehab after your injury. You can still improve over time. Focus on the positive. Never give up. Don't let anyone define who you are or what you want to be. And never let anyone else define you. Don't let anyone in your professional or personal life dictate who you are or what you want to accomplish. For me, having a brain injury has provided opportunities that I otherwise would not have had. It has been very rewarding to have had the opportunities to volunteer work in volunteer work and in advocacy initiatives that I have been asked to do. I truly love helping people, and this experience has enabled me to do something I'm very passionate about. All of us can do something that contributes to life and society. No matter what our contribution, how big or how small, It will be great. Something we will always be proud of. I also am looking forward to pushing my career in architecture to the next several levels. I would love to expand my social life, and that I would love to have a family that I always thought I would have. Who knows, maybe my bowling career might take off. I think I do pretty good for a guy with no hearing, no sight, and a bullet on the left side of his head. I always thought I would be great or do something great. When I was little, my grandfather thought I would be the next Pete Rose in baseball. I thought that once I got accepted to the #1 college in architecture, that my greatness would be in architectural design. I never thought the greatness would come in the form that it did, being greater than Superman. They say Superman's faster than a speeding bullet. Well, I don't need to outrun a speeding bullet. I can stop it with my head. I would like to close by thanking everyone that has given me the opportunity to lead a fulfilling life. My Swaback family, who didn't discard me, but gave me an opportunity. My Swan Rehab team, for making it possible to take advantage of the opportunity. The Brain Injury Alliance of Arizona, for giving me the resources to continue to better my life. I would really like to thank Chris Hotelling for giving me the direction to express myself as I have here today. Before my injury, I got into the habit of collecting quotes from sports figures. I read this quote as part of my victim impact speech for the sentencing portion of the trial for the individual that shot me. I believe this quote can benefit anybody and everybody, especially people with TBI. A college football coach once said, "It is not what happens to you, it is how you react to it that defines you as a person." So it's not that we have sustained a brain injury. It's what we do with it that defines who we are. Thank you for your time, and remember, never give up.